What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're talking about the Hoenn Cup, which is in for the last week of Season 13 of Go Battle League, I'll be leaving middle of next week. If you haven't checked it out yet, the Hoenn Cup takes place in the Great League, and you can only use Pokemon from the Hoenn region in this cup, which creates a bit of an interesting meta, but also leaves one Pokemon in particular to be super overpowered due to its almost invulnerable typing in Gen 3 in general, and that is Sableye, because there just really aren't many fairies in Gen 3, even after they introduced the fairy type in later and retroactively changed some Pokemon to become fairy type. There just aren't many in Gen 3, so Sableye has a lot of room to work and can be really difficult to handle. So this seemed like a great opportunity to try out Mawile, since he got access to the new fast move Fairy Wind fairly recently. I haven't had a chance to use it yet in the Great League for a video, so I wanted to try it, chuck it in, see how it can handle Sableye and the rest of the Hoenn Cup meta, and it's worked out reasonably well. I'm quite happy with its performance in general, but I'm going to show you guys a handful of battles and you can decide for yourselves whether you think Mawile really is worth using in this cup or not. But bear in mind, my Mawile does not have good PvP IVs, it's just from a raid, it's a lucky in fact, so you can get quite a bit more bulk out of Mawile if you do use one that's got low attack. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, help support me, help support the channel, and let's take a look at the team. On the lead, we're bringing Defense Deoxys, which is there to deal with steel types, ice types, things like that, but it does lose very badly to Sableye because it's weak to both the Shadow Claws, the Foul Plays. It just gets wrecked in that matchup. So we're putting it on the lead because we're expecting to see more Sableyes in the back than in the front in this cup in general, because it's always been a notoriously good safe swap, and especially in this meta it's even better, so we're likely to see it in the back was our reasoning. So Defense Deoxys on the lead, and then in the back we're bringing both Mawile and Altaria. Altaria being our safe swap, which will bait out the steel types because we're running Fairy Wind on Mawile along with Iron Head and Play Rough, which means Mawile gets absolutely walled by Registeel. So we're going to swift swap Altaria to maybe bait out some Registeels that might be lurking in the back, things like that, and then Mawile should hopefully be free to sweep in endgame to that hard-hitting Play Rough, Iron Head to take out any Charmers that might come in, things like Gardevoir. And if we can line Mawile up with Sableye, it does very well in that matchup as well, so we're going to be looking very good there. Is this team flawless? Absolutely not, but it's a lot of fun to play, and Mawile really does catch some people off guard when they're not expecting it in the back. So this matchup, we got a Vigoroth on the lead, which is very good for Defense Deoxys. You're going to be resisting those counters, your counters are doing super effective. You know, it's quite a strong position for Deoxys to be in. They're going to say swap in a Pelipper, which we should still build up to the Thunderbolt. We should have just thrown Psycho Boost because the shield was almost guaranteed, and if not, you just throw a second Psycho Boost and force a shield. Anyway, at that point, we're going to throw the Thunderbolt, get a shield, swap into Altaria, shield up the Hurricane, which I think is worth doing because otherwise it does so much damage and it puts you in a weird position in terms of feeling pressure to shield against maybe Weather Balls and stuff like that. But we shield up the Hurricane, no worries, and we can take out Pelipper with plenty of health left. And they're going to bring in their third Pokemon, which is a Dusclops, which I'm appreciating the spice for sure. And this thing will have access to Ice Punch, which is going to hit us pretty hard. But also, Dusclops is fairly it's fairly defense weighted, sorry. So it's not going to hit too hard, even though it's double super effective. We're going to get this Sky Tech off for some nice chip damage. And we've pretty much got this match in the bag because we can bring in Mawile into the Dusclops. And unless we take a Poltergeist, which just got access to, which I believe this is a Poltergeist, and I do think that we don't shield it, which is going to hit us like an absolute truck, nearly KO us. We're expecting the Vigoroth to come in and try and snipe us down, so we swap immediately to Deoxys, and the Vigoroth does come in. This puts us in an okay position because we can come out of this matchup with enough energy to get the shield out of the Dusclops if we want, and then also get to that Iron Head that we're very close to on the Mawile and finish them off. We're actually going to get a shield out of the Vigoroth, which I wasn't expecting at this point. So it's going to shield up this Body Slam, get a couple more counters in, and so we're quite close to the next Psycho Boost, which should pressure Dusclops to throw sooner, and then we should be looking good. So we take Vigoroth out with the Psycho Boost, attack falls, and I thought that this would KO, because surely it did KO. It must. It's so close to being knocked out, but it's not because we've nerfed our attack by throwing one previously. Dusclops is a lot bulkier than I expected, but we are going to be able to get to an Iron Head on the Mawile here with one more Fairy Wind, and it's going to take out the Dusclops, and we're going to take the win with quite a close match, but GG's all the same. And if you're looking at how hard that Poltergeist hit Mawile, remember that mine is not PvP IVs at all. So if you run a Mawile and you've got lower attack and high defense and HP, you'll get much more bulk out of it, and hits like that shouldn't be quite as close to KOing you, because Mawile does need the bulk, that it can get as well, because it's not all that defensive weighted, it's moderately attack weighted. So yeah, if you can get a bulkier one, I do highly recommend it. It will make a lot of difference in quite a few matchups. This game, we've got Altaria on the lead, so we're going to say swap to ours, see what they choose to do, and they're going to stay in, which I'm a little bit concerned by, but also I've made the choice, so I'm stuck here now. So I decide to actually lose this mirror match, because we CMP tied roughly. I wasn't quite at that sky attack there. I didn't want to go down a shield for that matchup, so I decided to just bring in Deoxys and I'm going to counter down. They swap into Swampert, and I'm like, well, this is okay at least, because Swampert does quite well against Mawile, just because the mud shots and the hydro cannons do add up very, very fast, and you have to throw the play roughs to do any meaningful damage. So I'm happy to have Deoxys in this matchup. I'm just going to throw a Psycho Boost, get the last shield, and now swap into Mawile, because we're hoping this is Earthquake. Maybe they just go for the Hail Mary like one shot, which they do. We shield up, that's great. We're going to make it to the play rough, and this will KO Swampert. So we're just hoping between these two Pokemon left now, we can sweep the game with Mawile. What's in the back? It's a Blaziken. Holy crap, right, we're going to deal with this fast, because if it gets to a Blast Burn, a Blaze Kick, it will annihilate us. I'm not sure if they overcharged or didn't quite have the energy there, but we get to the play rough. Boom! One shot's Blaziken. We can just farm down the Altaria, because you're triple resisting that Dragon Breath damage, which is crazy to consider, and they're just going to surrender there. GG's. Next game, we got the Sableye lead. You absolutely hate to see it. We're going to swap out to Altaria straight away. So we pull in, and it brings in Shadow Warrain. That is absolute, just hard counter city. Really, it doesn't get much worse than that at all. We're going to let the Altaria go down, just bring in Deoxys, and try and build up a ton of energy. Just to spam a couple of Thunderbolts, probably at the Sableye, and then see if Mawile, for some reason, depending what they've got in the back, maybe it can sweep the end game, maybe it can't. We'll just have to see. We're just going to take this Icicle Spear as well. It's not going to KO, it's going to get us pretty low, and we're just going to throw Thunderbolt, probably, or whatever comes in, depending. Waiting, and it's a Sableye. Yep, the Sableye comes back in, as we would presume, throw the Thunderbolt, and then we're going to swap out to Mawile. What have they got in the back? And there's the Registeel. So that is as hard counter as this team gets. Like, Sableye in the lead, Warrain in the back, and then Registeel. Absolutely nothing we could do there whatsoever. So we're just going to have to take this L on the chin. I do believe I top corner and back out of this game in a moment, because I realise that it's Daphnis dragging it out for both of us and wasting any more time. And I never ever mean disrespect if I do top corner in a matchup with an opponent or anything, but it is just, you know, you might as well get out of there. It's Daphnis playing this out when you know that you've lost. But GG's to the opponent. Sometimes you get hard countered and you just got to dust yourself off and get back into it. So on to the next matchup. Alright, what's this trainer going to be bringing in? We've got Deoxys on the lead against Medicham, which I take it as a positive lead, to be honest, Deoxys into Medicham. It's fairly neutral, but I believe it ends up going slightly more in Deoxys' favour, especially if you've got Thunderbolts, so you don't have to debuff yourself by throwing Psycho Boosts. This Medicham's throwing power-up punches, which I'm a little bit surprised by, but also they do end up playing it out in a way that is quite interesting. They do go for power-up punches and then end up throwing, I think, Ice Punch on the third or the fourth charge move, which means it would do a lot more damage. I think they're hoping to kind of catch people off guard if they think they're expecting just another power-up punch that they don't have to shield, because the damage does add up. Even though these counters are resisted, the power-up punches are resisted. We're in the yellow, you know, but the Medicham's shielded, which means I'm probably going to shield at this point. I was counting, whereas he had enough energy for Ice Punch and not just a power-up punch, and it is, so that's fine. We're just going to go ahead, throw a Psycho Boost, and if we get the second shield, we're not going to shield the next move. Throw a Psycho Boost, we do get the last shield, and that's completely fine. They need to throw a move to take us out here, and we're just going to farm down with Altaria and see what they've got in the back. We've got a shield advantage, which goes very, very well for us. We're going to just... this is probably an Ice Punch, and it's very amped up, so we should shield. Yeah, we're going to shield it up. That's fine. See what they're going to bring in the back. And there's a Warrain there, so we might as well have saved the shield for Mawile instead. So we're going to swap it in, and there's the Altaria in the back. Mawile absolutely loves this matchup. There is nothing an opponent's Altaria can do against Mawile. Play rough absolutely obliterates it. We're just going to take this Sky Attack on the chin, no worries whatsoever, and then we're going to be able to get to charge moves against the Warrain as well. We're just hoping we can do enough damage to this thing before it takes us out that Altaria can get to a Sky Attack and finish it off. Play rough hits very, very hard, and they need to get to an Earthquake, actually, I believe. to knock us out. An Icicle Spear wouldn't quite be enough. We're going to make it to an Iron Head, which isn't quite as much damage as Play Rough, but still enough to take them out, and we're going to take that win. GG's for the Mawile sweep. This next matchup is interesting just for the team composition. They've got Shadow Latias on the lead, which is a Charmer, which is really, really handy for taking out Sableye. If you're looking for something spicy to go toe-to-toe with Sableye, I mean, you'll be taking super effective from the Shadow Claws, you'll be doing super effective with the Charms, so you can kind of just mutually destruct an opposing Sableye and really clear it off your opponent's team if you want to try that out. They're going to bring in Swampert to meet our Mawile. I'm not really sure why I swapped Mawile in and not Altaria, since Mawile is technically our hardest counter. We get Swampert locked against this thing. They're able to shield up a Play Rough, and now we've got Deoxys stuck against this thing. We're just not in a good position in general for this team, but we're just hoping that Altaria's got good play in the back. That's why we're saving shields for it. We're going to let that Earthquake go through. Let's throw a Psycho Boost here. Then we're just going to farm down with Altaria and hope that we can sweep the end game. There's going to be a Hydro Cannon coming through now. Do we bother shielding? Probably, just because it's our last Pokemon. We've got 2 shields, and we know that the opposing Latios is running Charm, which is going to start chunking away. We Dragon Breath it down. What they got in the back, we've got an Energy Advantage. Can we do anything useful with it? It's a Gardevoir, and we're not that far away from making it to 2 Sky attacks, but we are going to be a little bit short, maybe like 2 or 3 Dragon Breath short. It's not going to quite be enough to get one of those through, and I'm not sure if it KOs anyway. I think it's close, but they're going to be able to Charm us down and take the win. It's an interesting team comp to put a Charmer on the lead and in the back, and I guess if you get a Registeel lead, you're just going to stay in and deal with it as best you can, and then clear it out with Swampert and hope your second Charmer can just sweep the rest of the game, which I bet works quite often, actually. If you're looking for something a bit faster to play, maybe that team's a good idea, and shout out to that trainer. This last matchup I think is interesting just for how it plays out right at the end game. So, Sableye lead, absolutely terrible for us. We say swap Altaria, and we do pull out Registeel, as we were originally saying at the start of the video. That's how we would want this team to work. We want to pull out Registeels with the Altaria say swap to free up Mawile in the back to finish these games off. Now, the good thing about the Altaria Registeel matchup is this Registeel is letting the Sky attacks through, and they're not getting the attack drop with the Zap Cannons. That means we can shield this up now and farm down the Registeel and actually take switch advantage in this game, which is very, very nice because it means we keep Deoxys away from Sableye. It means we can get Mawile lined up with Sableye instead, which can do a fair bit of work, and then hopefully Deoxys can handle whatever the other Pokemon in the back is. Now, Sableye is going for a very aggressive Shadow Claw down, which it does just make, which is a little unfortunate because, yes, you're resisting the charge moves on Mawile, but you're a little bit squishy, especially because I said mine's not PvP IVs, and these are going to get us pretty low at this point. We're going to let both foul players go through, and this actually means that the Sableye can Shadow Claw us down entirely. So what we should do, realistically, is probably throw this Iron Head and then swap into Deoxys straight away. But also the Fairy Winds do little bits of damage here. And this is going to seem unconventional, but it's our only option. We're going to farm down this Sableye with Defense Deoxys. We're just going to counter it down, keep punching. We're going to take this foul play. It's going to get us pretty low. And we're just hoping for a Hail Mary at the end of this game, hoping that whatever's in the back we can deal with. It's a Pelipper. Throw the Thunderbolt. We can do it. Sound the Horn of War. Boom! Take that Pelipper out of there, and we're actually going to be able to counter down the Sableye the rest of the way with a couple of HP and a Dream. Absolute skin of his teeth, take the win there, and it's a GG. So let me know, guys, what you think of the team. What do you think of Mawile? How have you done this season so far? Have you hit your targets, or are you still making a last push for that last rank up? Maybe you're still pushing for Legend rank like some of the trainers I battled here today. Maybe you've already just taken it easy, taking this week off and getting ready for next season. Either way, thanks so much for watching. If you're a subscriber to the channel, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch you guys next time.